Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome an accomplished entrepreneur, a fellow member of the YPO from London, UK, Mr. Sid Jashnani. Sid, welcome to the show.
Ashutosh, thank you for hosting me. Very,
Thank you.
very kind of you.
Thank you. Sid is a certified EOS implementer. EOS is Entrepreneurial Operating System. He's the founder of Rekruuto. He's a HoldCo entrepreneur, and as I mentioned, he's a fellow member of the YPO. So, Sid, before we come to EOS, a few questions for you. You've built and acquired businesses across different countries and industries. What early experiences shaped the entrepreneur you have eventually become?
Well, my dad was an entrepreneur, so we ran a very small family business, and dad still runs one of the most highest grossing retail franchises for the Raymond shop
Hmm.
in Lucknow, where I'm from.
Yeah.
And growing up, I always had that entrepreneurial bug. I used to sit in the shop with him and just was fascinated how he used to run his store. Grew up, had the opportunity to go to the US for my undergrad, and I was at University of Texas at Austin.
Hmm.
And once I finished my degree, I was working in the semiconductor industry. Then I was with Deloitte for a bit. And my heart was still about starting a business. And obviously, if you're in a visa in America, it's difficult to start your own business.
Hmm.
At that time, it was the dot-com boom. I mean, people
Hmm.
were getting funded, life
Yeah.
was good for everyone. I was getting recruited out of
Hmm.
college. But I decided to go back to India to start something.
Hmm.
And so the first two ventures were in retail because that's what I thought my blood was and that's what I should do.
Hmm.
Failed miserably, raised some capital, tried to get it off the ground, opened about 18 stores at my peak in 2007 in
Hmm.
fashion jewelry, but failed.
Hmm.
And I realized that business is really hard. There's so many moving
Correct.
parts.
Yeah.
It's just difficult to run business. And I know you've been in retail, Ashutosh. You've
Yeah.
grown largest pharmacy chains, I think, in
Hmm.
Asia, I believe.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and I just found it really hard dealing with retail. And so lost all my confidence, completely shattered, contacted a few of my colleagues at Deloitte. I was lucky they got me to Munich to work in another consultancy that I was part of, like
Hmm.
a boutique consultancy.
Hmm.
And I think that gave me my confidence back because then I started interacting with, the board of Nokia Siemens, Sony Ericsson. So I think I felt more important at that time.
Hmm.
And that's when I discovered some challenges in the telecom execution work that they were doing.
Hmm.
And that's what helped me launch my system integration business, which is Momentum.
Yeah.
And that God was very kind. We started getting money. I don't think we were very optimized, but we were very profitable. And the
Hmm.
challenge is when you have a lot of profit coming in, you don't really look at optimization. You just keep
Correct.
going on and on and on.
Correct. Correct.
And yeah, so with that capital, we started acquiring companies worldwide. We acquired in the UAE, we acquired in Singapore, and we started building is to something which has shaped my HoldCo today.
Hmm.
But when obviously things got a little bad, economy became a bit challenging, election transformations in India, and business just got harder. And obviously, people start seeing in the industry the profit that you're making, and that gives competition.
Hmm.
And suddenly we found ourselves that, oh, we've been wasting a lot of money.
Hmm.
And I mean, that's what helped me discover some of these operating systems I dabble in now.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think it was that whole journey of
Amazing.
starting out, failing, starting again, getting some success.
Hmm.
That's what gave me the entrepreneurial bug. And even today, I help other people start
Fascinating.
businesses more from an impact perspective. So.
Fascinating. And that gives me an amazing segue to the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS. Sid, for listeners new to EOS, how would you explain it in simple terms?
EOS is, think of it as a set of practical tools and business concepts
Hmm.
that have been there for hundreds of years. It's nothing, it's not a magic pill or a silver bullet. It's basic common business sense, which most of us or all of us know running a business,
Hmm.
but we just don't tend to do those things.
Hmm.
And think of it as these tools which help us run and harmonize and orchestrate all moving parts of our business
Mm.
so we run a better business.
Mm.
And like a computer has an operating system which just helps you run your PC or your Mac, and on top of that, you build applications and you use it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That EOS is the same. It just gives you a set of rules and guidelines and tools to run a
Mm.
great business.
Mm. And why do so many companies get stuck around the 5 to 10 million pound range? And how does EOS help them break through the ceiling?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think a lot of the companies get stuck at that mark, 5 to 10 million.
Mm.
And I think around that time, and this is my experience, and I
Yeah.
see this in my clients as well, that we get to a point where the amount of effort we are putting in is not giving us the same proportional results, where
Mm.
everything becomes hard at that point in time.
Mm.
Generally, most companies have founder-led sales, or the founders have been the more influential people in generating the business.
Yeah.
And as the size of the book grows, they realize that if they don't start delegating or if they don't start hiring or making extensions of themselves,
Hmm.
it's just more hard and the intensity increases. And a lot of them flatline at that stage where for some they say, okay, this is it. I think I've kind of hit my ceiling and I'm happy with where I am and I would like to be here. And
Right.
such businesses I see flatline and eventually taper off because people get bored. The smarter ones in the organization realize that this business is not going anywhere and they move
Mm.
on.
Mm.
And suddenly you start seeing the business falling off.
Mm. Mm.
So, what I find with entrepreneurs is if they don't build extensions of themselves and keep firing themselves from the work that they're doing,
Mm.
and it's like, moving and getting more uncomfortable with where they are, you kind of hit that ceiling.
Mm.
And EOS gives you this awareness and the tools which help you build extensions of yourself
Mm.
logically.
Well said. Well said. And what are the 6 key components of EOS? Which one do most companies struggle with first and why?
Yeah, great question again. So EOS has six key components, and what we say in EOS is that, hey, if you strengthen these six key components,
Hmm.
life gets a little easier and your business feels like a self-operating business where things are in control.
Mm.
So the first key component is the vision component, which
Right.
is very simply, are you all on the same page with where you're going and how you plan to get there?
Mm.
Right? So does everyone in your team see the same thing and want the same thing? Right?
Mm.
That's the vision part. To achieve that great vision, you need great people. So the second key component is people because the vision's not going to get executed itself. It needs great people to execute that
Mm.
great vision of yours.
Mm.
The problem is every entrepreneur I've met has their own unique definition of great people.
Mm.
And what EOS does, it kind of helps you cut through the jargons and all the other stuff to really
Mm.
define great people for your organization.
Mm.
So that's two. The third is the data component.
Hmm.
This is very simply about running your business on facts and figures and numbers
Correct. Mm.
rather than egos and emotions and all that other stuff that bubbles up in
Yeah.
us when we get hit with stuff.
Mm.
So what we say is when you got a great vision in place, you got great people, and you're running your business on numbers, you get this transparency and life
Mm.
gets a little more clear. You start seeing things in your business which you were not seeing otherwise.
Mm.
And it also gives rise to the challenges and issues. And that's what leads you to the fourth component, which is issues.
Hmm.
Very simply, as an organization, you have to be great at setting up your issues
Mm.
and solving them permanently forever. Not
Mm.
a band-aid or, in India we call it jugaad. We don't do any of
Mm.
that. It's
Mm.
about fixing it from the root and getting rid of it
Yeah.
so it doesn't come back.
Mm.
And the fifth key component is process.
Hmm.
And that's, the dreaded P word, where like companies in the 5 to 10 million scale, they
Yeah.
dread that because
Mm.
they know they need it but they don't work on that area. So
Mm.
this is about just systemizing your business
Correct.
so it becomes predictable and repeatable.
Mm.
The last key component is traction.
Mm.
And that's about bringing your vision down to the ground and executing on it day in and day out.
Mm.
And EOS gives tools for each of these six components so we can strengthen it.
Mm.
Now, to answer your second question, which is which component do people struggle with the most when
Mm.
they start the journey? What I've seen is the people component is the one that is the most challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And once they kind of set it up and start seeing who's doing what are the roles of the people, they realize that they have the right people,
Mm-hmm.
which means that these are the people that are aligned with their value system. They love having them around. They have a good relationship with them,
Mm-hmm.
but they're just not doing what they're supposed to do,
Right.
right? So they're just not delivering what's expected of them.
Mm.
So that's one issue I see very often.
Very
The other
interesting.
one, which is a bit more challenging,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where a lot of people struggle, and I
Mm-hmm.
struggle too, I mean, it was challenging for me, was when you have the wrong people sitting in the right seat, which means that these are the people that are not aligned with your value system, but they're
Mm-hmm.
hitting their numbers, they're achieving their targets, they're bringing you the sales, they're
Mm-hmm.
delivering the product, whatever you want them to do, they're doing it in a great way.
Mm-hmm.
But they think that they are God's gift to your business.
Correct.
They think that you will struggle and you will not survive if they leave the business. So
Mm.
that's a harder problem. And I
Absolutely.
see founders at that stage struggle with these two issues a lot.
Mm. Very
Sorry, I
interesting.
kept rambling.
No, no,
Sorry.
no. I mean, I think you've explained the six components very, very well. Thank you. You also talk about creating a culture of accountability. What does accountability truly mean in an EOS company?
Yeah, I think everyone has their own definition of
Yeah.
organizational accountability. I
Mm.
think for me, it's very simple. It's about you have a set of roles that you have to deliver as part of a business or as
Mm.
part of the reason you've been hired,
Mm.
and you get it done. You do what you say and you deliver what's expected.
Mm.
So there is no ambiguity. There's something that you take up, you raise your hand, and you get it done. And in EOS, there are lots of tools which make people and the organization accountable.
Mm.
So we spoke about numbers. So there is a weekly scorecard at the team level, which kind of bubbles down to people owning one or two or three measurables
Mhm.
that they're keeping on track every week. So that brings in accountability. There is this concept of quarterly priorities or
Mhm.
rocks. A lot of people in the tech world call it OKRs too. And so it's about keeping those on track and achieving those
Mm.
and just becoming that predictable person where you
Mm.
say, "Hey, I'm going to get this done next week."
Mm.
And then people trust you for that because you get it done.
Mm.
And that's what accountability is. And we say, imagine if you're running a business with 100 people, if all 100 of those get accountable,
Yeah.
then the right people, right seat, delivering what's expected, and you can trust them to deliver it on time. And that's
Great
what
response.
accountability.
Great response. It's also often seen that founders themselves become bottlenecks in an organization, and they tend to create. Because I've also often said that if founders don't keep pace with growth, they sometimes become a bottleneck. I enjoyed reading this that you have a similar view, but my question is, what early signs indicate that a founder himself or herself is becoming a bottleneck?
Yeah, I think I can share from experience here. As always, it's about, I remember years ago, founders have this great ability to come up with great ideas for sure.
Correct.
But
Mm.
for me at least, I think every nine of my 10 ideas, nine were quite rubbish.
Mm.
And they were the ones that would kind of take the company away from its core focus. So there's a
Correct.
lot of distraction. I would create a lot of distraction in my
Mm.
leadership team.
Mm. Mm.
And I think I was blessed to have a great counterpart or like an integrator, as I call them, who kind of kept me on track and became a filter for my ideas. And I'm talking like 2014 and 15. Salesforce is very new at that time, at least
Yeah.
for us. And there was, Salesforce was pushing it. Hey, we went to their demos and we had the account executives visit.
Mm.
And I was blown away. I'm like, man, this is what we need right now. This is going to solve all our problems.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy implementation for mid-sized companies. And I said, this quarter we'll get Salesforce done. And my team was like, okay, hold on. I mean, we didn't budget for it. We have no resources for it. There is no plan for it. And it's a great idea, but
Yeah.
can we just park it for this quarter?
Yeah.
Let's come back and see if
Mm.
it's still worth our time next quarter,
Mm.
right? And angry as I was, but I trusted them as they, okay, fine, let's pick it up next quarter. Next quarter, it was written on, they wrote it on the whiteboard, Salesforce implementation. And I told them, why would you want to do that right now? We didn't plan for it. There's no
Mm.
budget. what's wrong? Whose idea is this? And
mm,
they said, Sid, it was your idea 3 months ago.
mm, mm.
And so you need a great filter, which is, someone who could be a co-founder, could
Yeah.
be a president or COO, who's
Mm,
helping you filter these distractions.
mm.
The other bottlenecks I see with people is, and with myself also, was to keep everything too close to my heart and not let go.
Correct.
So I wanted this sense of importance that every decision should have my rubber stamp.
Correct.
And that's when I realized and I was made aware that you don't need to say okay to everything. There are certain things which you just need to let go, and there are competent people who can deliver it. And I think the challenge for me was trusting those people to deliver what was expected. And
Mm.
they were doing a better job than I was, but I just wanted to make them feel that I was important. And
Right.
I think delegation is one of those things that's really hard. And we just cling on to the wine
Mm,
and we just need to let go of it. And
mm,
it's part art and part science. And my
mm,
job when I'm helping founders is to make them aware
mm.
of all the $10 or $20 an hour sort of work that they're doing that they should not be doing. Those are the things you let go to people that you trust who are competent, who will probably do a better job than you.
Correct. 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 So, in your experience, what are some of the roles that the founder should hold on to, and what should
Yeah.
they really give up?
I wish there was a little template for this, but I think
I know.
everyone comes from a different
Yeah.
DNA and different sort of thought process.
Yeah.
But I've seen, including myself, a lot of founders that love being at that 20,000 feet, start talking about their industry, become industry thought leaders.
Mm,
They know the pulse of the business.
correct.
They know what others are doing. They kind of see what's happening in the industry. So it's someone who can see 2 seconds ahead than the
Mm,
rest of the organization,
mm,
right? And founders find themselves in their element when
mm,
they're in that space, when they're visualizing, strategizing about what's next, trying to find the next blue ocean because
mm.
every business is getting heavily commoditized.
Yeah.
Competition is insane for everything.
Yeah.
So founders are great in trying to figure out, okay, what is that unique value proposition that we can bring in now? How can we
Mm,
pivot just slightly? How can
mm,
we change the messaging? And those are the things founders find themselves really excel at.
mm,
Problem is, a lot of them that still doing the day-to-day operations don't get the time, energy to do that thinking.
mm.
And then they just find themselves just in that operator mode. They don't start thinking about, hey, what company can I acquire maybe in a new market?
Correct.
What company maybe or what division can I just divest and kind of create value out of that?
Mm.
And those are the things that you can think of when you're not stuck in the day to day.
Fascinating. What should companies do when they discover a high performer who does not align with the company's culture and values?
Oh, that's a tough one, right? So this is one of the issues I see a lot where value alignment is a problem with someone. They hitting all the numbers. They're like one of your top salespeople or top ops people.
Mm,
I had someone like this who gave me a lot of grief. I was the one who was stressing at night, and they were the one probably sleeping like a baby. I was thinking,
mm,
hey, what will they think about this tomorrow, and how will they react to this?
mm,
And I never wanted to be in that position. Um, so the steps that I advise people to take, and these are the same set of steps I took years ago, where I can't let go of that person straight away because that's going to have a big dent in my revenue, big dent in whatever operational capability. But I started making a plan of replacing them, and I gave myself 1 quarter, and I said, okay, this is the quarter I'm going to make a replacement.
mm,
I'm going to time box it. I will not delay it. And if I don't find someone in 3 months, I will step in that position and I will run it till I can't find someone competent, or
mm,
I'll put someone that I trust in my org to wear that hat as well. But I
mm,
will not let it continue more than 3 months because culture is
mm,
contagious. And
mm.
if I start turning a blind eye to one person, then others start questioning my value
Yeah.
system and they start saying, hey, are there separate rules for this person?
Mm,
And you are okay with them not doing this? So, end of the day, whatever you tolerate, you deserve. So, if
mm,
you tolerate bad behavior from someone, your organization deserves it because it's going to create more bad behavior from
Correct.
others and they start
Correct.
questioning all that stuff. So to anyone who has such a person,
Mm,
these guys or these people, I call them termites because they're destroying your culture in little ways that you
mm,
don't see. So please find someone in your organization who can either temporarily replace them or go find another rock star in your head who can take over that role. It's going to be tough
yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure. But
Mm,
if you don't take that step, it's gonna get worse for you as the time goes on.
mm. Great response. Sid, I have time for two more questions for you. Uh, Processes are often neglected by fast-growing companies. What mindset shift helps teams embrace process documentation?
Yeah, I think there are two different questions here. So one is the mindset, and I think a lot of companies don't feel that processes are really needed at their stage because some of these startups, and especially in the AI world that I've seen, they're growing like 1,000% a
Yeah.
quarter. That's
Mm,
the crazy growth that they're experiencing.
mm,
And they just don't feel that they can get bogged down by processes. So I think that's a mindset shift which is required at the top leadership level,
mm,
which is processes actually make things better for us and don't
mm,
slow us down.
mm,
And think about it as someone, a founder, when they're starting a business, they use some process in their head. They find a product, they go sell it to someone,
mm,
that someone likes that product, then they start selling more of it to other people. Well,
mm.
guess what? That's a little process that they've invented in their head and they're just
Correct.
following it,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And humankind has just been following processes since we know.
Yeah.
And whatever the things that work well, we continue to do more of. The
Mm,
ones that don't work well, we stop doing.
yeah.
And that's what process is. You
Mm,
do the stuff that gives you the right outcomes, and then you just make set of steps and you teach other people to do
yeah.
it. It's like, cavemen taught their children how to make fire,
Mm,
right? And to cook, to go hunt, because those were the things that helped them survive. And
mm,
processes are what help us survive.
mm,
It's like if we'd have that mindset that processes will help us because they actually reduce bureaucracy, they reduce the time for us to take something to market,
mm,
it helps. Now, the second question was, which I kind of figured, was
mm,
the documentation. So it has never been easier to document processes.
mm.
You can record a little video. You can take this podcast. We can
Yeah.
build a process together and
Correct.
we can put the transcript in, any LLM GPT and tell it to build us a checklist or a process. And it will.
Yeah.
And that's the documentation is the easiest part. Getting the processes followed by all is the most challenging part.
Correct. 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 Well said.
Yeah, so mindset requires some neuro-linguistic programming to get people to see why processes will actually help them rather than
Mm,
pull them back.
amazing. And my last question for you, Sid. What is the single biggest transformation you've seen in leadership teams after completing a full EOS journey? And I don't want any names, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the single biggest transformation, relies, yes, the numbers speak for themselves. So you start seeing the organization growing.
Mm,
I typically say if you follow the system, the process, you start seeing 15 to 30% year over year growth.
mm,
That's the kind of benchmark I use.
mhm,
Um, But what starts happening is something which was not there in day one of the business, which is trust. And that's the foundational layer where I start trusting people in my leadership team. And there is no filter in what I speak with them. So I can truly speak and share what's on my mind without any repercussions
mm,
because I come from a place of love and abundance and for the greater good of the business, right? And that transformation can only happen where people can share what's on their mind without the fear of any repercussions. And
mm,
especially in businesses which are family owned,
mm,
maybe third generation, second generation, where people find it very challenging to speak their mind, and
mm,
you start hanging out with people who are just saying yes to whatever you say, But then they go out of that meeting and they have their own little silos, and then say, oh, boss said we have to do this, and
Yeah.
I'm sure this is going to fail, and whatever, let's just do it. So they're just setting themselves up to fail
Correct.
because they could not engage in healthy conflict.
Mm.
So trust is the base layer. If you trust your leadership teams, you can engage in healthy conflict, debate, you can put your point forward, you can feel heard. Then a decision is taken based on all the inputs where the greater good of the business is thought of. And then there is a commitment to that decision because you engaged in a healthy conflict and you came up with a way to go forward. When that commitment is there, then you hold each other accountable
Yeah.
to deliver on those commitments. And then, if the accountability is there and you hold others accountable, you start seeing the results. So that's why I just recited the Lencioni pyramid. That's not mine.
Yeah.
It's Patrick Lencioni's work and the five dysfunctions. And so these are the five dysfunctions. Well, I showed you what the functions look like, how a functional leadership team works. Trust is the base layer, and that's the transformation I start seeing in 18 to 24 months
Amazing.
if you do this right.
Amazing. And on that note, Sid, I just want to say what a fascinating conversation this one has been. Talking to you really made me go back to my own entrepreneurial days. And I know for a fact that one of the biggest weaknesses every startup has is that processes and systems do not keep pace with the speed at which the business is growing. And when these challenges catch up with you, suddenly realize, oh God, what do I do?
Yeah.
Thank you for taking me through the entrepreneurial operating system. You made it sound so simple and easy, but it is difficult. But if people like you are guiding an entrepreneur or an organization, maybe it becomes a little more systematic. But the results are there for people to see if successfully implemented. Thank you for speaking to me, Sid, and all the very best to you.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.